Watch me remodel our home basement from this to this. Here's just a walkthrough of what we currently have. Just some cardio equipment, miscellaneous workout stuff, kind of spread all throughout the basement. There wasn't a lot of organization, and we had to kind of walk through columns to get to some things, which wasn't ideal. So first I had to pull up all of these old foam puzzle mats. They were great initially when we had a home gym. It was a small area with just some free weights, and these were a cheap and easy way to cover the floor that was pretty comfortable. But as we started buying more equipment, we really outgrew it quite fast. So I had to pull all of those up and clean up with the shop vac. Later, I then bought some of these kind of faux wood style puzzle piece mats that were reversible and had a grippy texture on the opposite side. And those were a little bit better for the home gym. So we used those in some other areas of the basement, and now I'm moving those to cover this area because we don't plan on really using this area for any more equipment. We're going to move it all to the back end of the basement. But these are really nice because you can just pull them up and press them in place pretty quickly. They're foam, so they're pretty comfortable, and if they get wet, they can dry out pretty quickly. They're also pretty easy to fit around structures. You just take a box cutter, measure it out, and cut it out, as you can see I'm doing here. And it really just takes a couple minutes. These are what I'm going to put in the new basement flooring. So they are horse stall mats from Tractor Supply. I was letting them air out and I washed them outside before taking them in the basement. I also got a new medicine ball rack, as you can see I'm setting up here, just for storage. And we only really had two light bulbs, so I wanted to add some lighting. I kind of skipped through a lot of that, so here's the difference. Quite a bit brighter. And next comes the heavy lifting. These mats were about 94 pounds a piece, and so I had to roll them up, bungee cord them, and use a dolly to take them from outside down the basement stairs and into the back of the basement. And I bought about 15 of them, so it was quite a long process. I also was slowly moving all of our gym equipment around, as you can see here, while I put new mats down. So I put a few in the corner and then moved everything over so that I could start tearing up the last bit of the puzzle matting. So for the first row on the back wall, I started with one full mat and I wanted to offset them so that the corners weren't all lining up so you didn't have grooves in the same spots. So I started the second row with half of a mat. These actually weren't too hard to cut. They're about 3/4 of an inch thick and rubber, so I used a box cutter knife and it took a few swipes, but still not super hard to cut through. The hardest parts were just getting around some of the smaller areas that I had to cut, like here, the sump pump. This took quite a while just because of all the small cuts and measurements I had to do. You can see me taking a few breaks now and then. And I had to change the box cutter knife multiple times because it would get dull quite fast. And some more unloading of mats. I tried to do a few at a time to not wear myself out too quick. Moving them wasn't too hard. You could really just kind of pull and drag, and they moved fairly easily. Here's a little doggy stretch break. I caught Luna doing some doggy yoga. And back to work. Here's another section I had to cut. You can see around that back corner, I had this kind of big circle to cut. That probably took me the longest, and I think my camera died, so I didn't quite get all of that, but it was pretty hard work. Next, I moved this big squat rack on my own, just lots of pulling and lifting, and got it to where we wanted it. And continue to clean as I went. Here's another section. I had to move a lot of the equipment around just so I could get it on the mat and then put another mat down. And of course, again, a lot of cleaning to make sure I'm not putting these mats over a bunch of dirt and dust. This mat fit pretty easily, but the next one I had to cut around the water heater, and I wanted to make sure I left a good space for the drain. That's right behind it. There was a lot of measuring. And some more cleaning, because as you cut it, the mat would kind of cause little rubber pieces to fall off. But it fit quite good. I just had to cut a little bit more off the other side to match up with the other mat. Then here's the final row. Again, some more cutting and fitting around this column. I wanted it to kind of sit flush with the back side of this column. And this one was going to go right under the treadmill. You can see it fits pretty nice once I pull it down. And I replaced the puzzle mats. Next, I had to cut around this column. You can see my dog popping in now and then to help. I used this piece of PVC to help cut the mats. It put on a little bit of an angle so that I could make the cut a little bit easier. And in a second, you'll see my wife pop in for a little cameo to help me move the mat into place, which was nice. But while she was down there, she realized how dirty the rafters above, and so she spent a few hours cleaning them, as you see here. Next, I had a couple accessories I wanted to hang up. First was this yoga mat holder. Came with a template. I drilled some holes with a hammer drill and then screwed in two racks so I could hang up our foam rollers and yoga mat. Then I got a couple mirrors, mostly for our free weights. So here I am unpacking them. I made sure the bottom was level. And again, drilled some holes with the hammer drill. I used the box under me to try to catch some of the concrete dust because it was pretty dusty. And I sucked all the dust out of the holes as well so that there was nothing in them when I put the screws in them. Here's my wife helping me out. She just held the vacuum to suck up the dust so it didn't get too bad. And she held up the mirrors so that I could screw in the top bar. Don't mind us semi-matching, that was not planned. And a reminder of where we started. And where we ended. Thanks for watching my home basement renovation.